What is going on, Queen City Reefers? As you can see, I'm sitting on the floor. That's because the tank behind me is actually my new nightstand lamp in a sense. But we're gonna talk about that here in the video. So welcome to another episode here with Queen City Reefs and more. Thank you so much for tuning in on this episode. Before we get started, someone on the last video asked a question about how the RODI unit from AquaFX is doing, and I'm definitely gonna bring you to it real quick and show you exactly how it's doing. All right. Let's roll the intro. And here you have it. So you're gonna hear some noise because the booster pump is actually on to get the most effect from it. The purpose of this booster pump right here is to increase the water pressure that goes through it so that we can make sure that this RODI unit works at its most effective, efficient way. And so right now I have it running at 100 PSI. So again, this is the AquaFX Bluefin 500 gallons per day. So what I used to use was a 200 gallon per day, and I don't know if it was the fact that I had actually Frankensteined it from different parts to work like a 7-stage unit, or maybe that I wasn't getting enough pressure. I don't know, but the biggest issue I had with it was that it was running through DI resin like nobody's business. It literally was going through it within maybe 600 gallons, maybe up to 1,000 gallons of filtered water, and then I would have to replace it. Now, the beautiful thing about this is that I get to measure this in 3 different stages. TDS 1 is what's coming out, the product water, right? The water that I'm actually gonna be using. TDS 2 is right after the carbon filter. So this right here, is the water starts in this one here, which is the sediment filter. Then it runs through the 2 carbon filters. So the 29 is after the 2 carbon filters. Then the third one is when it comes out of the membrane. So I can know when it's actually starting to be less effective. So from the membrane, as you can see, it's 0 still. And then once it goes through the DI resin, I can see the ppms as well. So I love this because I can actually see each stage and what the ppm is for each stage that's happening here, so that I can make a more educated decision on when to change things around, right? When to change just the DI resin, when to change just the carbon or just the sediment or just the membrane over there. So there's nothing much more to it. This unit has actually been working really, really great. So far, I've been using it for over 1,000 gallons, and I have yet to see that number increase, the ppm for the TDS meter. And so I'm gonna just keep an eye on it. The only thing that I would say negative about this is that I'm not able to see the color of the resin because the original cartridges are not see-through. So once those are done, I actually purchased different ones that are see-through so I can keep an eye on it visually as well. So I can't really tell, other than right here, I just noticed that you can see a lot of yellow in there. So I'll just keep an eye on ppm and then see, you know, make an educated decision at that point. But then I am going to be switching over to these clear ones. Now, I'm still probably going to use these because I want to be able to fill these up with the appropriate media right before these start getting exhausted, so that I have them ready versus having to take these out, emptying them out, dry them out, and put the new media in, right? I want to have them already ready. So when I do use the clear ones, I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on, see how it exhausts, whether, you know, one over the other, so on and so forth, so that I have an idea of when these are in, I have an idea on how it actually exhausts. And at that time, I have to take an educated guess because I won't be able to see it, but it shouldn't really be much different, right? My water doesn't really change. And normally if there is changes, we get notified by the city. So I hope this answered your question on how this unit is doing. It is doing great, still working at tip-top condition, and I am very, very happy that I switched over to this. And I definitely recommend it for anyone that is looking for a large semi-commercial unit that can produce 500 gallons per day. People with, you know, 300, 500, 600 gallons of water in their house. Let's get back to what this video is about. Definitely stay tuned for an episode on this mega matrix. As you can see, let me know if you actually catch the changes that I did to this. There are significant changes. Put it in the comments below if you notice. That tells me that you've been watching previous videos, if you know what the changes are from the last video to this one. All right, let's get back to the other tank. And here you have it. This is, again, for those that have not been up to date with the tanks that I am showcasing and have you follow along throughout this journey. This right here is the Innovative Marine 20-gallon drop-off Nuvo. I think the actual name is this right here. Hold on. Here is a Nuvo, let's see, Concept Abyss Panorama. It is basically just a concept tank, right? All right, so I changed the lighting on this because I wanted to make sure that, you know, I was able to show you the inside with all that blue. So this is not a filter. This is just the lighting that I switched on the Ecotech that I have on this tank. And let's get through it. So again, this is a 20-gallon tank, also known as, you know, a drop-off due to the way that this tank was designed, with a area up here and then it dropping off down there. The actual name is a Concept Abyss Panorama Nuvo. What I have in here is mainly Marco rock and one of the Carib Sea flats, and then one of the, I can't remember the company that makes these, but these right here is one of the magnet ones that I magnetize to the back right there, and I can have a bunch of, I believe it takes 10 plugs in here. So I actually like this because it gives you some space here at the bottom for corals that don't require that much light. And then here, of course, you know, I have additional zoas. Now, some of these are repeats, and I've been meaning to take pictures of them so that I can put them on the website. So selfless plug here is, you want to keep up with my website, www.queencityreefs.com. I'll leave it in the comments description below, so make sure you check that out. I normally will add all the corals that are doing well. In this case, I had to remove the scolies because for whatever reason, they're still meaty, but like you can see, this one right here used to be very toxic green and it's brown. And I don't know if it's because of lack of light or what, but I'm actually doing acclimating mode that started at 25% to eventually ended at 75%, because I do believe that it was the lack of light. You could see how some of these zoas are stretching. Even the ones that are at the top over here are stretching, but I definitely don't want to raise the light just from, you know, 0 to 70, or from what it was. It used to be at 35%. So from 35% to 70, you know, in one instance. I've done that before in some corals while they adapt very well and you see no issues at all. There's other corals that don't end up not taking too well to that quick change. So I definitely advise that you take things slow when it comes to things like that. I am not 100% convinced yet with this scape right here, because what I'm picturing is not what is coming out. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. And I've told y'all this before. A lot of y'all know this. I am not good at DIY. I do not have that creativity to be able to DIY scapes, or, you know, construct stands, or, you know, I've even thought about building my own aquarium to my own custom needs or whatever. But then I'm like, yeah, no, that's going to be a disaster. I'm going to leave the scape like this and see how I feel about it over the course of a few weeks. And then if I have to, maybe change it. I guess the biggest issue is that I don't want to break the rock, right? And maybe that's what I have to do in order to come up with something, you know, pretty unique. So we'll see. If anybody local is watching and you're good at scapes and don't want to charge an arm and a leg, hit me up, and I definitely will consider, you know, ideas, and maybe you building something for me. So what do I have in here mainly? Mainly in here, you'll see that I have scolies. I also have Aptasia. You know, I'm growing Aptasia. Not really, but I do have a friend who sells nudibranchs, so I bought a few for another tank, and if they do well, then hopefully they create babies, and I'm gonna move some babies in here and eventually get rid of this Aptasia problem through nudibranchs, especially because I don't have any fish here or any predators that would eat those nudibranchs. The other thing that I have in here outside of scolies is zoas, as you can see. Oh, look, how the heck did a nudibranch end up right over there? I promise you folks, I have not put a nudibranch, but I did use some rock that was in another tank that at some point I had. I'm sorry, I got a little excited there, but there is a nudibranch right there. Nice. Now I'm thinking of, you know, grabbing it with my finger and putting it near these Aptasia that are covering this scolie right here. And there's nothing much more to it. When it comes to equipment, I'm using the Gen 5 Radion XR15 for the return pump because the original one that came didn't work when I bought it used. So I ended up buying Aqua Illuminations Axis 40, and that's been doing great. I have it running at about 60%. This skimmer right here is the Bubble Magus. I can't remember exactly which one, but it's a nano skimmer. I believe this to be the best nano skimmer that exists right now. Even on top of the Sea Chase Shark ones, and we'll talk about those Shark ones in one of the next episodes whenever I give you an update on a tank. But it's been kind of difficult to get it tuned to what I like. So this one right off the bat started producing that dark tea-like color, and if I wanted to, I could get it a little darker, but I think this is perfect. It'll take about 5 days to fill up, which is perfect again, and it's just doing its job, and it's a very cheap option. When I bought it, it was in the $50 range. I believe it's gone up to like 60 something, 70 bucks maybe. Like everything else, things just keep going up, and they don't even wait a year or a few years. It's multiple times a year when you start seeing these things increase in price. But politics should not be a topic for these videos, right? So anyways, I am using auto top off right here. That I'm using is a Auto Aqua Smart top off. So the pump that pulls water is all in here, and it drops it through here, and you just have a hose running to my Red Sea Reef can, 10-gallon one that it pulls water from into, of course, the tank here. Aside from that, as a power head, I have a Nero 3, which has actually worked very, very well. I will tell you that I love that Nero 3 for the power that it has. I've had J-Bow in comparisons that are as small. I'm not saying all of them, just a small one that meets that same dimensions in the size, and they have not been as powerful and have not been able to push as much water as this one has. So when it comes to small little power heads, I really like that one. I have been wanting to try out the TMC ones that are even smaller, and I've seen some videos where they actually do push quite a bit of water. But I already had this one, and I actually bought it used for 100 bucks, so it was no brainer to go ahead and get it. I have sponges that I'm using for filtration, but I've been debating on buying the Innovative Marine media baskets, where you can put a sponge at the top and then put some carbon in the middle and some GFO in the third one. But it will have to be for both sides because it has 2 inlets. So I've been debating on that, but I mean, the sponges have been working perfectly right. So at this time, I'm not in a rush. Well, I think that is it really as for an update of this tank. The next update will come if I end up making any changes, or if these corals grow out quite a bit, or something semi-significant that would justify a new update, right? Unless you have comments, questions, or concerns about this tank, then I'll definitely come back with it with an answer while showcasing the tank. Maybe the next time I'll cover maintenance on this tank and what I do to maintain it clean and water changes and all that. But I don't want to make this video longer than should be because most of y'all apparently are only watching 50% of all the videos. So yeah, we'll limit it at 15 minutes or so. Thank you so much again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you consider subscribing now, and I hope you consider hitting that like button. Again, that like button helps. Y'all hit the like button quite a bit on the last video, and I got over 2,000 views because it does share the wealth, right? And so if there's anything I would ask of you, if you don't want to check out my website, if you don't want to buy corals or whatever the case may be, another way to support this channel is just hit that like button. It means a lot. It would mean a lot. It would help a lot. And, I appreciate the help. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll catch you on the next one.